Now, it's very interesting that Krishna does not initially reveal his true self to Arjun. He tries through logic, through a healthy give and take of ideas, tries to change Arjun's mind. It is only when Arjun's mind keeps running around in circles, never really grasping the ultimate truth that Krishna is talking about, that Krishna feels the need to reveal his larger cosmic self. So Arjun is in a situation where he's simply not getting convinced by logic, by the debate. The structure of his thoughts is not being able to break until he sees something greater at work. You see, the whole point is that we often don't get convinced by ideas. We need to see something greater than ourselves, something larger than ourselves, something of the mysterious, something of the cosmic. Then only do we grasp truth as it is. Then only do we grasp the infinite reality. Hence the importance of spirituality. Because spirituality gives us the eyes capable of seeing the truth, of hearing the truth. Simply words do not convince us. Words are empty. Words never penetrate into the deepest core of our being, into the deepest core of our heart. Hence, it is important, this mystical aspect of life. Because what it does is, it takes us beyond words, it takes us beyond debate, it takes us beyond argument and makes us see for ourselves that there is something greater. So the mystical heart perceives infinity. It perceives a reality which is beyond the ordinary reality that we exist within. So, cultivation of these mystical eyes is the whole quest. That is the whole search of spirituality, and the Gita is a very beautiful metaphor for this search. It looks like Krishna has revealed himself, but really, behind the metaphor, the fact remains that all of us can perceive the energy which Krishna represents through our own mystical search, through our own mystical questioning. And you'll notice in the life of mystics, many of them have followed this route. You see, look at Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. Vivekananda was simply not getting convinced by the words of Sri Ramakrishna, by the presence of Sri Ramakrishna. It is only when Sri Ramakrishna actually made him go into the mystical states, the mystical vibration, the ability to see visions, the ability to go deep into samadhi or go deep into meditation, is when Vivekananda, with a jolt, realized that all his logic, all his argumentation, all his debate is simply superficial in the face of this magnificent, vast reality. The something in the center of his being could recognize the greater. Something in the deepest core of himself could recognize that there is a beautiful melody to life which remains unheard unless we develop the spiritual ear, the mystical ear. So all the senses, the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to touch, the ability to taste, and so on, all of these can become attuned to understanding the mystical. So Vivekananda is one example. You can look at Sri Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya was an expert debater. He used to win all his debates. He used to win all his logical arguments with people. But it is only when the deeply mystical experience happened to him that he could go beyond all those words, all those arguments, all those debates, and move into the state of pure bhakti. So bhakti yoga really, which Gaudiya Vaishnavism represents, which Sri Chaitanya represents, is really a function of the utmost logician, the utmost rational mind, moving into a situation where he becomes an absolute devotee, where he becomes not only a devotee but shows the path to millions of people about how to Be devoted in life to the higher principle. And that is, in fact, the greatest test of a true mystic. A true mystic is somebody who has been able to transcend logic, transcend rationality, transcend. But that is the authentic mystic. The authentic mystic does not begin with a position of believing everything. No, he's not a believer. Look at Siddhartha, Gautam Buddha. His search for 6 years, that is important. His search was true. And at the end of the search, he realized that there is a state, there is a reality, there is a movement into nirvana which is far greater than any words or any logic or any rationality can tell us. So, if we understand the importance of mysticism like this, then we would really know what it means to understand the spiritual state. What is wisdom? You see, wisdom means a sense of knowing, but with a great internal ability to see something larger, with a great internal ability of purity of being, a great ability of purity of perception. That is what takes us to the wisdom state. Otherwise, wisdom and knowledge can be two sides of the same coin, not much difference. But the person of wisdom really has the eye of wisdom, what in the East has been called the third eye. So, in Hinduism, in Tibetan Buddhism, and so on, it is the third eye. The third eye is what? It is a metaphor for understanding that beyond the two ordinary eyes of perception, there is an eye which can perceive bliss, which can perceive higher energy, which can perceive the state of absolute freedom, mukti, moksha, and so on. Hence, we are each to understand that to move towards the ocean, to move towards the ocean of truth, the river has to absolutely forget its own identity. It has to move with its own force, but ultimately it has to move into a greater reality. And that is the metaphor of mysticism. That is the importance of mysticism. All of us are rivers, but each of us need to reach the ocean. Through our logic and through our rationality, we will not reach the ocean. We will be stuck somewhere. Our life will not move towards its ultimate fulfillment. Yes, the river on its own is good, but only when it meets with its higher reality, the sea, the open sea, the ocean, and so on, is when it fulfills itself, is when its destiny functions to its utmost. It's when its own dharma, its own potential realization is met. Its potential realization ultimately is met in the annihilation of its identity as a river. It does not remain a river, it becomes part of the ocean. That is the beauty of life. That is the beauty of mysticism. That is the beauty of all spiritual quest. It is an opening of our own windows. It is the beginning of contentment. It is the opening the doors of perception, as it were, as Jim Morrison, the rock star, famously said. So, creativity, the ability to be creative in life, really is incumbent and dependent upon this letting go of ourselves as we have known, letting go of our argumentation, our debate, our logic. Yes, that has a certain place, but you have to go beyond it in order to go beyond your limited identity, in order to flower into your greater reality, in order to meet your highest potentiality, and so on.